Brandon, an ecologist from the University of Sheffield. For years, he has been working to help wildlife recover in areas damaged by human actions. Recently, he focused on the Chernobyl exclusion zone, a place abandoned since the nuclear disaster of 1986. Despite the tragedy, this area had turned into a unique chance for scientists to see how nature could bounce back without human interference. Each visit showed a surprising comeback of wildlife: wolves in the forests, rare birds nesting in old buildings. Brandon used high-tech drones with cameras and sensors to track these animals and monitor environmental changes. His work was crucial for understanding how ecosystems heal from big disruptions. One day, while flying his drone over the dense forest, Brandon saw something strange on his screen. Amid the usual deer, wild boars, and a lone wolf, a small, unusual shape appeared in a clearing. It wasn't a typical animal or human figure. It made his heart race. Brandon quickly moved the drone closer and heard a faint, unusual mewing sound. As the drone approached, the sound grew louder. He struggled to identify it, but soon realized there were cries of a creature in distress. But before we go into more depth, don't forget to like and subscribe. We are aiming for 1,000 plus likes on this video, so be sure to like it. Let's continue the story. Brandon's heart sank as he saw that the sound wasn't mechanical, but the desperate cries of a living being. Zooming in with the drone's camera, he saw a young bear cub trapped in an old rusty snare. The cub was trying to escape, its fur tangled in the metal jaws, fear clear in its tiny eyes. Brandon felt overwhelmed by the urge to help. The Chernobyl exclusion zone still had dangerous radioactive spots and was dense and unpredictable. Even with safety gear, it was risky. Yet, he couldn't bear to leave the cub suffering. Its pleading eyes filled him with urgency. Unable to act directly, Brandon continued watching with his drone and quickly called for professional help. He reached out to the Chernobyl Wildlife Management Team, trained for such rescues, and they promised to come as soon as they could. As Brandon watched, the drone's camera picked up rustling in the underbrush. Zooming in, he saw the cub's mother approaching. She moved cautiously but clearly worried. The mother bear tried to pry open the trap with her powerful paws. The trap was deeply embedded and wouldn't budge. Each time she tried, the cub whimpered. Driven by love, she pushed and pulled at the trap, trying everything to free her baby. She paused occasionally to lick the cub's head, comforting it before resuming her desperate efforts. Brandon wondered how a trap ended up in this wildlife sanctuary. The Chernobyl exclusion zone was meant to be a safe haven for nature. Seeing the trap was a disturbing sign that human activity hadn't stopped in this restricted area. Then, Brandon heard more rustling in the bushes. He hoped it was the rescue team, but what he saw through the drone's camera made his blood run cold. Figures were moving toward the clearing, but they weren't the wildlife team. They were poachers, armed with rifles and carrying more traps. Their cruel laughter echoed through the forest. Brandon's heart raced. He adjusted the drone to capture clear images of the poachers and their gear, knowing this footage could be crucial for law enforcement later. He immediately called the wildlife management team again, his voice urgent. "Poachers are approaching the bear and her cub. They're armed and dangerous. We need help right now." Meanwhile, the mother bear stood protectively between her cub and the intruders, ready to defend her young at any cost. The cub, sensing its mother's fear, stopped crying and began to whine softly. Brandon felt a wave of helplessness as he continued to watch from above. Every second mattered in rescuing the cub and stopping the poachers. As the poachers closed in, Brandon knew he had only moments to act. The men began to spread out, surrounding the bears. One poacher aimed a tranquilizer gun at the mother bear, while another dragged a large cage closer. A third poacher prepared bolt cutters to free the trapped cub. Without hesitation, Brandon decided to use his drone to create a distraction. He flew it low over the poachers' heads, making a loud buzzing noise that startled and confused them. The poachers looked up, shouting in frustration as the drone whirred around them. This distraction bought the bears some precious time. A tense standoff unfolded, with Brandon and the poachers engaged in a silent struggle. The mother bear kept a close watch, her instincts fully alert. Just when it seemed like things would escalate, one of the poachers, angry at the drone's interference, fired a shot at it. The gunshot rang out, startling everyone, including the bears. The noise could attract other animals or even authorities, so the poacher leader yelled frantic orders. The group quickly scattered into the thick underbrush, leaving only the sounds of snapping twigs and rustling leaves behind. Brandon let out a sigh of relief but kept the drone in the air, capturing the last images of the fleeing poachers. His quick thinking had averted a dangerous situation, and the bears were safe for now. The tension lifted as the sound of vehicles approached. The rescue team arrived, rushing from their trucks to assess the scene. The team leader approached Brandon, who was still guiding the drone, and nodded in understanding as Brandon briefed him on the events. The terrain posed a significant challenge for the rescue team. The thick underbrush and uneven ground made it tough to get their vehicles close to the trap. Adding to the difficulty was the protective mother bear, which made the operation even more complicated. The team quickly set up ropes and tools, planning their approach carefully to avoid startling the mother bear. They readied a tranquilizer gun to safely sedate her, ensuring the safety of both the team and the cub. This would let them work without interference and prevent the mother from accidentally harming her cub during the rescue. Despite their expertise, the dense foliage and the hidden trap made the rescue tough. The team struggled through the thick brush, and the cub's distressed cries added urgency to their efforts. From above, Brandon could sense their frustration as their initial attempts to reach the cub failed. After reassessing the situation, the team decided to clear some of the underbrush and use more precise tools to safely dismantle the trap. With renewed determination, they used heavy-duty shears to carefully cut away the vegetation around the trap, trying not to distress the cub or its sedated mother further. An expert in trap removal stepped in with specialized tools, working carefully to unlock the trap without causing more harm. Another team member prepared a soft blanket to wrap the cub in once it was freed. Finally, with a soft click, the trap was released. The cub was quickly wrapped in the blanket and gently examined by the team's veterinary staff. Brandon, still capturing footage, knew this would be crucial for training and raising awareness about the dangers wildlife face, even in protected areas. As they examined the cub, Dr. Miranda noticed something unusual on its neck, a small metal tag partially hidden by dirt and matted fur. She cleaned the area around the tag, revealing a series of numbers and a logo. Her eyes widened as she recognized the emblem of a well-known wildlife conservation organization. "This is incredible," Dr. Miranda said, her voice brimming with excitement. "This bear is part of a major conservation project. It's been tagged for a study that's been tracking bear populations in this area for over a decade." She quickly reached out to the conservation organization and, after a brief conversation, shared some surprising and heartwarming news. "This cub is part of a crucial study on wildlife recovery in areas affected by human abandonment and radiation," she explained to the rescue team. They didn't think this cub would survive in such a harsh environment. The team members exchanged astonished glances, realizing the magnitude of their rescue. They had not only saved a life, but had also preserved a vital part of scientific research that could shed light on how wildlife rebounds in challenging places like Chernobyl. The conservationist on the other end of the call elaborated. "This cub comes from a family being closely monitored to see how well they adapt to these tough conditions. Losing this cub would have been a significant setback for our research." Brandon felt a surge of pride as he listened. His actions had not only saved the cub, but also supported crucial ongoing research. It was a powerful reminder of why he had dedicated his life to studying and protecting wildlife. As the mother bear began to stir, the team moved back to a safe distance, letting her wake up naturally. From a distance, Brandon and the team watched as the mother bear groggily stood up, blinking in confusion before spotting her cub. She rushed over, sniffing it all over, and, relieved to find it unharmed, let out a soft huff. The cub, now freed from the trap and no longer in pain, wobbled unsteadily on its feet, but soon nuzzled close to its mother. The team observed in silent reverence as the mother bear nudged her cub forward and led it safely back into the forest. As the team packed up, Brandon felt a deep sense of fulfillment. His work was far from over, but moments like these made every challenge worth it. The footage he captured and the data collected would contribute to the protection of Chernobyl's wildlife and ensure these creatures could thrive in their home. As Brandon headed back to the university with his drone and the valuable footage, he reflected on the importance of vigilance and the ongoing need to safeguard wildlife, even in places where humans no longer tread. Thanks to quick thinking and teamwork, the balance between nature and human intervention had been restored, at least for now. So, what are your thoughts about this heart-touching story? Share your opinions in the comment section below, and don't forget to subscribe to stay updated on our new animal stories. Your support means the world to us.